Thank you all for meeting with me. You're all doing some wonderful work destroying the world, but I think it's probably time for us to reevaluate.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption, but I think we're in the wrong meeting. We're not here to destroy the world. We're here to save it. You see, we are some of the leading leaders of liberal causes, and I'm with the Human Rights Campaign, who focus on LGBTQ plus and trans rights. You see, I have the equal sign to let you know that I'm a good person.
Oh, excuse me, women's reproductive rights.
Climate.
Free Palestine. Open borders.
I misspoke before. You guys are not destroying the world, okay? You are saving the world.
Hey, whoa, what's up with those scare quotes?
Pretty sure I didn't use scare quotes when I said saving the world. The important thing to keep in mind is that there's a big election coming up, and we're all on the same page, okay? So if we want Biden to win, he needs to win in order for us to save the world. If we want Biden to win, you folks, how can I say this? You might need to tone it down just.
Tone down what?
Oh, that's a good question. You're women's reproductive rights, right? Okay. Excellent branding, by the way. It's much easier on the ears than baby murder, so kudos to you on that one. But opposing any restrictions all the way through to the 9th month, I mean, you see how you're kind of tipping your hand, right? Makes people think, wait, maybe they actually want to kill babies. And we do, obviously.
No, we don't.
Oh.
No, we don't. We don't.
Right. We don't. But you see how it can kind of look that way. So that's all I'm saying. Let's tone it down. And you, immigration, clearly we don't want a completely open border that undermines any sense of national sovereignty, driving down wages for the working class and overtaxing the welfare state. So let's go a bit easy there too. I mean, why not something like this? Why not something like, diversity is our...
Are you trying to say diversity is our strength?
Yes! How do you say that without laughing? Oh my gosh. I can't even get through it. This is head and my sides. My goodness. Okay, what about you? Pro-Palestine. You are, I'm going to say this. You're kind of coming across like you just want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
We do want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
Of course, yes. And that's awesome. I'm all for that. I love that. But you need to pretend like you don't want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
Why?
Excuse me?
I mean, we're pretty clear in our position, and most young people and everyone on college campuses, and half the Democratic Party, of course, still support us.
Yeah, it's cool now.
You may have a point there. You might be the only person in here that can be as evil as you want to be and get away with it. All right, still, let's think about tactics. Okay, do you think that occupying bridges and blocking traffic is somehow winning people over to your cause?
Yeah, and making people hate us by blocking traffic is our thing. He's stealing our thing!
You're not stealing your thing. You must die. We will kill you all!
See, this is what I'm talking about. I mean, okay, I love the homicidal thing that you got going on there. I really dig it, okay? But maybe market it just a little bit differently. Like the serial killer that everyone thinks is such a sweet guy, He's got 27 bodies in the basement, but he's like, coaching Little League. That's what I want. Be that guy.
Death to America.
The funny thing is, you don't even look Middle Eastern. Am I wrong, people? Am I wrong?
I'm not. I actually grew up on Long Island, but my parents sent me to college. Death to America.
HRC guy. You have been going over the top as well.
Well, it's important for us, they, them, to be accepted just like everyone else.
Yes, of course. And convincing people that they're intolerant for not wanting men to get naked in women's locker rooms. I guess that's genius. I mean, come on, it's next level stuff. All right, but insisting that your children be mutilated. I mean, come on, it's turning people off, you guys. I mean, not everyone, obviously, but until the election, can we just all pretend for a few months not to be crazy, lunatic, homicidal extremists?
Extremist? No, it's my body, my Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump.
You will obey me. Sorry. Glad we're all on the same page, though. So, how do you do it? When I do evil stuff, it seems like nobody likes me. When you do it, everyone finds you sympathetic.
Well, see, my people are oppressed victims. So we can rape, murder, and call for genocide, and it's pretty much totally justified.
Well done, Ahmed. Well done.
Hey you! Are you enjoying these videos? Then I have a loose suggestion for you. Why don't you like it? Comment and hit the subscribe button. In fact, even if you didn't like this video, I strongly suggest that you do it. It's not a threat. I'm not pressuring you. You just have to do it.
Hey guys, that's another great one from the Babylon Bee. You will find it. I'll put it today for you so you can share it across your social media over on my Telegram. Remember, I only have one Telegram. That's t.me/Jovan, Hutton, Pulitzer, no spaces, no real, no official, no whatever. There's a lot of fake accounts. Make sure you have the right one. I apologize for being super casual. I've been driving for the last and up for the last 7 hours, right? So this is it. This is what you get, right? Of me. I won't ever sell you crypto or anything like that. So basically, you'll find that over my Telegram. People will put that right on the various links that we do. Folks, here's what we're going to do today. I did the one program where I analyze the words of what was said during the various lawsuits. What I'm going to do for you now is we're going to look at some words that are said during promotion, because you're going to find out in the midterms, we're going to have some very serious problems. And so in order to keep ahead of that curve, I'm going to try to help you understand some key things. And I'm going to go deeper into one part of it, one very nefarious part of it, that I believe was how it was planned to assure that not a single one of the election cases could be fought and won. I'm going to kind of show you how that works. And I think it's just important that you pay attention to it. Anyway, make sure you please follow, like, and share the program. I hope you had an incredible holiday time with your family. They're probably there now. That's why this is an important program today. Today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. I partnered with them because they're the best. This is not about investing in gold. This is simply for you to request your free gold and silver kit today, folks. That's the deal. It's time to protect your money with gold and silver. It's a protective measure. Mainly if you have a 401k, IRA, or retirement savings account, you need to understand why that is so important, is because if you had a crisis, God forbid, wanted to take out your money, you're going to get dinged for it. I think probably today, where it is, both silver and gold will probably hit their all-time high ever. And it's still climbing. But what I'm talking to you about is just covering CYA, covering your booty, right? Making sure you understand what to do, and they'll help you through that. Additionally, got something for you for your year end now that you're through the holidays. It's the year-end sale from CB Distillery. You're going to want to make sure that you use the promo code RUMBLE. That's incredibly important. You're used to it after all these years using my particular promo code, so it can be tracked. This one, you got to use RUMBLE because that's how you qualify to get up to the 50% discount. And so it's the year-end sale, 50% on everything with the code RUMBLE. And so now that you're in and through one day, and you probably have more coming, the holiday chaos, the late nights, family parties, you might be filled stressed, right? Sleeplessness, kind of like I am at the moment. Then get some CBD from CB Distillery. They've got natural solutions for just about everything. Better sleep, less stress, more calm, improved mood and focus, pain relief after workouts, even CBD for pets. My go-to is the roll-on CBD for pain. It's the bomb. CBD Distillery, CBD, get it? CB Distillery is different. Their hemp is grown right here in the U.S., third-party tested, free from artificial dyes, fillers. It's just clean, premium CBD solutions. And that's why I trust them. So don't miss out. Treat yourself. Treat yourself. Save up to 50% on everything. Head to cbddistillery.com. Use promo code RUMBLE. That's cbddistillery.com. Promo code RUMBLE. Make sure you use it. Do it now. And if you catch me in a little bit of a slur of my words, it's from lack of sleep. You can probably see it in my eyes. Thank God for coffee on the road. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to do an additional analytic. And I think everybody needs to understand this. See, I always tell you the deep state, everybody that wants to ruin this nation, they all always telegraph what they're going to do. This one image you should pay attention to. Because if you look back over Obama and they try to, there's two Obama terms and then Hillary running against Trump, that big middle finger of Biden, then Kamala on election night, 68 million. They have now, the reason you see that little red block, they've now, it's well over a year since the election. They have raised her up to over 75 million votes. How does that happen? Well, what they're doing is instead of making that glaring fool poo-poo of a president, which was illegitimate, they're trying to scoot them up because they're going to re-trigger those. This is how they validate what was bad on the rolls, by showing them voting many times since that time. And you see, no, they keep on voting. They're real. We have to talk about this. I'm going to try to keep this short and concise. But I'm going to explain to you further than we have before, because it's going to be important, that one word that keeps on being used: fraud. And if you want to absolutely guarantee that we get our ass handed to us in the midterms, then you make sure you keep on promoting that word fraud. And I'm going to explain to you, you're an adult, you're going to have to make a decision whether you're going to keep on screwing our nation that way and saying it. Hang tight, we'll get started right after this.
Warning, the following program has been rated Gilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians? The elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd. Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, guys, we're starting out with a bang. Car over on Rumble set me up perfectly in saying, you taught us the difference between election fraud and voter fraud. But what is it if it's not fraud? That is what everybody needs to learn. See, you had to learn why the system kept on talking about voter fraud, because they'll always find one simple person to say they did something wrong, but they're not hunting for a conviction. It's basically what's called a relative ratio. Let's take Maricopa County, 2.5 million registered voters, and they find and prosecute one person for voter fraud. That's not about prosecution. It's so they can say, look, we caught this person, but we have 2.5 million voters. So it's relatively small, but we detected it. Get it? That's the con. Now, I want to set a tone for this. Many times when you watch my programs rerun, because we have to get the information to as many people as possible, you don't know it, but I'm still sitting around and I'll participate in chat and I know who's there. I had a lively discussion going over some of this stuff with a fellow patent guy, right? Smart fellow. I'm on the IP prosecution side. He's on the patent attorney side. And it came down to, talking about this word fraud and regular law cases, et cetera. It was a very interesting discussion. But he got to the point that, well, the judges are bad. So I want to say one thing to you so you understand what I'm talking about. Our judicial system is designed in a way that it can get complicated to prosecute things. That's number one. Number two is, depending upon how you file your case or how you prosecute it, you can either intentionally sabotage a case if you're a rat bastard, or you can unintentionally give the judge an excuse to not rule on it or kick it to the curb. There's not a judge in America that wants to be the one that decides the case our elections are broken and rigged. I need you to understand that. There is not a judge in the United States of America that wants to take their judgeship, put it on the line, and say our elections are crapped, they're controlled, people are selected, not elected. The reason they don't want to be that judge is because they won't be that judge for long. Even if they're a good person, they're just going to be run out of town. So I want you to understand that. I want you to understand that. And then, of course, there's plenty of corrupt people. However, if you play to win, right, you have to understand your case can also guide the judge to being backed into a corner where they must make the proper legal decision, because if they don't, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. That judge can be removed, and that case is going to get a second bite at the apple. So you have to understand that. That's the only cover you can provide to a judge who's even quasi good. You have to make it where they're backed into a corner. You've got to give them the excuse, well, I had to rule this way. They had the law right, and that's it. You just have to understand that. But let's just do a little bit of linear thinking. What comes before an election case gets in front of a judge? And sometimes people don't think about this. People are not trained to think step by step linearly. So let's pull it back. Long before you're sitting in a court to have a judge rule or to have a jury rule, the next step backwards is to file a case that's going to be heard by a judge or adjudicated by a jury. Well, that case is not going to get there if that case is not written correctly. So you go back to the drafting of the suit, and then you go back to the picking of the attorney, and before that you go back to how did it even come up in the district or court or county it is. So you better pull these things back. The system will always give you a bad guy to look at, and right now judges will take the heat, and there's a lot of bad judges. But unless you think linearly and you understand the path to getting it there, you're doomed right from the very beginning. Now, why do I even bother? Because you're seeing more election stuff hit Twitter and everybody everywhere else than ever. A lot of the old 2020 stuff is recirculating on Twitter. Why? Because we're all talking about it and we're diving deep into it. And now you've got a certain amount of consciousness that's coming about where people really understand what's going on and they're pushing back. So you're seeing these videos come back out. But here's a post from someone on Twitter, just in this last 24 hours. But I want to read just the opening line. Now, I want you to think about, here's an account on Twitter. I don't know who they are. They've got 200,000 followers. They claim to be an investigator. That's totally fine. But look at the words. Here's how Dominion, in all caps, flipped and switched the 2020 presidential election in the middle of the night in Antrim County, Michigan, from Trump to Biden. And then they go on to talk about the things I talked about. I taught the whole world this because nobody paid attention to it, the admissible rates. And then in that particular one, it was 750 times the allowable way. Now, what's wrong with that statement? What's wrong with that statement? Well, there's two things going on at the same time. People are so poorly trained in this election stuff and knowing what's up and how it works, they continue to use words that were promoted to them. So right off the bat, it's totally invalid. Right off the bat, by quoting Dominion and by saying flipped and switched. That headline is a total piece of crap. Now, what the person's actually talking about is the adjudication rate. It's not adjudication that actually swaps the votes. You know this. Adjudication is a time hack. It's designed to know how people voted, to temporarily hold them so they don't have to count. Then they understand underneath how many more they need to insert, and then they bring it into the insertion process, let the adjudication come down, and it looks like a close race. But if this is where you get your news, and you keep on saying Dominion, I want you to understand, if you're going to embrace Dominion, the big capital D, then I want to tell you right now, go register as a Democrat because you're aiding and abetting them. That's it. If you're going to keep on repeating that word to the detriment of every single thing done in elections, then you need to embrace the capital D. You need to go register as a Democrat because you're doing their job for them. Right? You're doing their job for them. This entire post, someone manually adjusting groups of ballots for Dominion by Dominion for Biden, is all crap. Because it's not how it's actually done. Right? It's not how it's done. And that's why you have Kamala now over 75 million votes. Were those machines running since the election? I'm just asking a question. After the election a year ago, did they just happen to leave the polling places and stuff on? You get it? So I'm telling you right now, everybody that is biting into Dominion, 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 right, is working in a manner to make sure every case in court gets dismissed. And I'm going to show you that. I'm going to explain exactly how, okay? Because at the end of the day, this is about getting it fixed. This is about getting it fixed. This is not about how many clicks, how many headlines. Can you ride somebody's coattail because everybody's saying that? That's bullshit. And right now, we've got to separate the bullshit from the actual facts of how it's done. Because, see, we have to address how it's done. We've got to stop pointing fingers at evil people. It's useless. And it's time we win. So I'm going to show you how this works, okay? The very first thing we're going to do is I'm going to play for you about a 3-minute piece from prior to the disaster of 2020. All I'm asking you to do is listen to the words that are being said. Forget who's saying it. But I'll tell you right now, it's the opposition. But listen how they describe it. They describe it in a very specific manner. And by the way, all of those words are scripted. They describe it in a very specific manner. Listen.
The biggest seller of voting machines is doing something that violates Cybersecurity 101, directing that you install remote access software, which would make a machine like that, a magnet for fraudsters and hackers. 43.
Listen to what he said. The single largest seller of voting systems basically tells the county, if you want remote access, put on this piece of software. I've told you that all along. Now, what he's doing, and it pains me to do it, what he's doing is telling exactly the truth that nobody pays attention to. Because, see, the largest seller tells the county, if you want to do certain things, you want to see certain things remotely, you can get a piece of software and do it. So who did the crime? Get it? It's all pushed off. It's all a matter of words. But in that specific scenario, it's not a crime to have an open backdoor. It's not a crime to have vulnerabilities because the rules are voluntary. So I'm not going to interrupt this time. Listen to the words.
The biggest seller of voting machines is doing something that violates Cybersecurity 101, directing that you install remote access software, which would make a machine like that, a magnet for fraudsters and hackers. 43% of American voters use voting machines that researchers have found have serious security flaws, including backdoors. These companies are accountable to no one. They won't answer basic questions about their cybersecurity practices, and the biggest companies won't answer any questions at all. 5 states have no paper trail, and that means there is no way to prove the numbers the voting machines put out are legitimate. So much for Cybersecurity 101.
The vast majority of 10,000 election jurisdictions nationwide use election management systems that run on old software that is soon going to be out of date and ripe for exploitation by hackers, according to an exhaustive analysis by the Associated Press. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Florida, Iowa, Indiana, Arizona, and North Carolina, among others, are all at risk. Even the state of Georgia, which just passed legislation to buy new voting machines, is on track to buy equipment that suffers from this significant cybersecurity weakness.
Let's say the election is decided by a small percentage, and people in America don't think that the election was fair. The effect that would have on our 200-year experiment in self-governance, our democratic system would take a real hit. Our elections weren't secure last week, and they sure as heck aren't secure this week. And anybody who says otherwise is either selling you voting machines or simply has a malicious intent towards our elections. At one point,
in the Intelligence Committee, both sides seemed to agree that no votes were changed in the 2016 election. And I said, the experts I talked to say that until you have a forensic analysis of a vote, until you go in there and scrub the whole system, you can't really say that.
What did he not say that you hear every single conservative pound to death? When he was doing a speech that was basically a public speech, he would say voting machines. When he was in front of the government institution behind the closed doors and it's tape, he said election management systems. When he's going back to a speech, election machines, voting machines. He was talking about Dominion. Did he say it? Did he ever use the word fraud? Even when he brought up, somebody said it, they switched the vote. He basically says, how do you know until you forensically go and examine everything? When you get caught in a vacuum, the vacuum controls what plays out in the courts. I show you that because there's a difference to where he wasn't restricted by what he says by laws, and he will say election machines, compared to the committee stuff in front of it where he says election management systems. But see, we don't pay attention. And I've always told you it comes down to words. But the single word you did not hear was fraud. He said there were holes in it. He said there are concerns in it. And that's the difference we're going to talk about today. Now, we're going to do some comparing of words. I don't even remember what order I got them in. Okay, we're going to do some comparing of words. We're going to break down stuff, and then I'm going to go straight to the case law. So simple you can understand it. But I'm telling you right now, if we don't change our words and tactics, our great republic is over. Now's the time as we're heading into 2026, is you got to have that come to Jesus meeting. You have to decide whether you're here to play to win or you're just a regurgitating bullshit artist. And anybody who keeps on repeating the wrong words is playing for the other side. And if you share those things that repeat those bullshit words, like that one that I showed you at the beginning, total, absolute bullshit. That opening line, how Dominion flipped and switched late on election night, is what the system prays you say, prays you adopt, gives you a single source to hate, because see, you're focusing on one company instead of focusing of where the crimes really occur. And so you're being trained. You're being trained to get it wrong, because that top sentence has nothing to do with everything below. And I'm just telling you, the time has come, you have to choose sides. Most people will never take the time to listen to this. They'll listen to bullshit, they'll listen to rhetoric, and that's the train wreck in people. They want to see that rubbernecking of the wreck and look, instead of let's get through this and let's get to where we're headed. Well, where we have to get to where we're headed is saving a country. So I'm gonna give you, quote unquote, a newscast. And we're going to analyze the newscast. because it's probably where a lot of you get your words. But that's why I played you the Democrats first, who seem to always win. Have you ever thought about that? Why do they keep on winning? Maybe it's time you understand the game it's all involved in. So we're going to start analyzing some words. I want you to listen.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it, folks. The elections that were held yesterday were illegal.
Okay. Talking about the midterms. Here's the lead. The elections that were held yesterday were illegal. I want you to write that on a piece of paper. Just write the word illegal. Okay? Illegal. Okay? The reporter, the journalist, who claims now to be an election integrity expert, the leading line is the elections that were held yesterday were illegal. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure the words. Don't look at the great looking woman. Let's just take the words and we're going to audit the words. Now, everything that gets said, you're going to either put it under illegal or not. It's either going to fall under that word illegal or it's not going to be something that's actually illegal. So here we go.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it, folks. The elections that were held yesterday were illegal. The polls went down in Pennsylvania.
Okay, so this is your first one. The polls, meaning the polling place, the polls went down in Pennsylvania. You're either going to put that under the illegal category or you're not. If that's illegal, put it under the illegal category. And I'm going to give you a hint. It's not illegal. You probably didn't know that. Polls go down for different reasons. Power can go out, machine can go bad. Is that illegal? Not a bit. It's actually under a caveat of law called force majeure. They only have an obligation to get it back and running. But is it illegal? No. So each time she gives a point, I'm not going to interrupt anymore. We're going to go through it. Each time she gives a point, I'm just going to ask you, if this is illegal, put it under the illegal category, and then I'll cover it from there. Here we go.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it, folks. The elections that were held yesterday were illegal. The polls went down in Pennsylvania.
Okay, the polls went down in Pennsylvania. If you think that's illegal, put it under illegal category. Here's the next one.
Poll pads. The voting machines.
The poll pads went down. If you think that's illegal, put it under the illegal category. The voting machine
stopped working in Ohio.
The voting machine stopped working in Ohio. If you think that's illegal, put it under the illegal category.
And in New Jersey, in one county, and bomb threats.
Okay, so another, and when in Ohio, here's another one, and they went down in Ohio. If you think that's illegal, put it under the illegal category.
That's were called in.
Let me back up just a scooch.
And bomb threats were called into districts also.
Okay, and bomb threats were called into district also. Was that an illegal act? If it is, put it under your illegal category.
In New Jersey. That means that Republican voters were blocked.
Okay. Now, here's a question. The machine cycled out. The power cycled out. The polls had a stutter in time or even a bomb threat. Were voters blocked? Well, let's look at it through the eyes of the court. Did you catch the actual illegal act so far? What was the illegal act that is a bona fide crime? Did you catch what it was? Put it in chat. What was the illegal crime? And I'm trying not to make this super highly technical for everybody. I'm trying to get it down to the simplest vernacular. The only thing that happened in what she just described that was an act that is considered illegally is calling in a bomb threat. Now, let's say that a polling place, the power went out, and it was going to take them an hour to get the power back on. So you got people standing in line. Did they block someone's vote? Yes or no? Put it in chat. Did they block someone's vote? Yes or no? Did someone block a voter's vote? Yes or no? The answer is no. And they also did not deny access. If you notice a recurring theme, the power goes out or have a water break or got a sewer break or we're out of paper, those are not illegal. Get your head around that. They're not illegal. They're called force majeure. The polling places either have to get that place back up and running as fast as they can. There's no determinate time. That could be 5 minutes. It could be 5 hours. They got to get it back online though. And if they can't, by law, they have to say, here's the next voting place you can go vote. Now, in that process, they 100% complied with the law. Now, here's where comes free will, because you just think it's a fucking pain in the ass and you've already stood there for an hour. Fuck it. I ain't going to go to the next place. Did they block your vote or did you block your vote? Did they block your vote or did you block your own vote? You blocked your own vote. You are the one that denied your own right to vote. You are the one that blocked your own damn vote because, well, it just wasn't convenient anymore. I'm not going to stand here. You. Now you understand why none of those are convictable offenses? Because ultimately, you're the one that makes the damn decision. You blocked your vote. All the other bullshit you hear is bullshit. Total bullshit to keep you pissed off, to keep you angry, to keep you bitching, but to totally keep you away from the true facts. The only thing in there that she talked about is a crime, is somebody calling in a bomb threat. That's it. 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 That is it. So the question is, are you as a voter mature enough to understand the role you play in this? Because I'm telling you, it's really easy to bitch. And wait till you see more I'm bringing you. It is very easy to bitch. It is very easy to point fingers. It is very easy to blame. I'm tired of that shit. I just want to get it fixed. And there are rules to getting it fixed as well. But if they keep you in chaos and they keep you pissed off and they keep you sucking the couch cushion up the crack of your ass because you're stressed, nothing will get fixed because they've trained you to point and blame, bitch, 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 point and blame, bitch, bitch, bitch. I would hope you would protect my broadcast by not recommending men with guns, etc. I really would. Hope, if that's the intent, you would protect my broadcast and not do that. Okay? We got to be very, very, very careful about what's said in these broadcasts because they watch them continuously. And also, if you're one of these is saying, we got to go break out Tina Peters, you're committing a crime. You are already involved in a conspiracy. The very moment you say, "Oh, we got to get a militia together and go break her out," you just participated in a conspiracy crime. If you never get this and you keep on sharing the wrong stuff with your family and friends, you work for the enemy, quite possibly unwilling. I'm going to play through this string. There's more to it. Let's go back.
Also in New Jersey. That means that Republican voters were blocked from voting. That means that Americans were disenfranchised, to use one of the Democrats' favorite.
Were any Americans disenfranchised with the examples she gave? No. Disenfranchised is they print no ballots. They always print them. They mail none. They always mail them. They have places open. It may be inconvenient for you, and they open 2 hours late, hoping you get pissed off, but it's still not a crime. If you want to win against the criminals, you have to understand the tools criminals use. But it's very easy to bitch and moan. This stuff, and especially this person, is one of the key people that keeps you in chaos and keeps you away from a win.
Words. Where are the federal officials? Why is America's entire election system allowed to continue as a fraud committed against the American people?
And that one word, fraud. Now, let me ask you a question. Is a commercial designed to inform you or sell you? Put it in chat. Is a commercial designed to inform you or sell you? Why do advertisers do commercials? To sell you. Now, here's a hard one. Ready? Are documentaries designed to inform you or to sell you? See, most people think that documentaries are something that inform you. And I'm telling you here right now, they're no different than a movie. They're no different than a television show. They are there to sell you an agenda in the form of education. You think you are getting informed, and they're selling you the whole time. Don't believe me? Go look at all the documentaries exposing Trump. They're selling you an agenda. And the same thing happens on the right. Documentaries are designed to sell as well. They're trying to get you to adopt a language, to adopt a position. There are so few documentaries anymore that are actually factual. Maybe in the animal kingdom, how animals eat each other. But even now, in the animals eating each other, and you see the lion eat the gazelle, they'll tell you it's climate change. Even documentaries are designed to sell you. There are very few that are done non-agenda. Here's the facts. Let us show you. You decide. Almost all of them now tell you what to think. Is news designed to inform you or to sell you? Is news or radio or any of it, newspapers, are they designed to inform you or sell you? They're designed to sell you. We don't have news anymore. Post about topics on X. Are most of them trying to sell you an idea? Or are most of them saying, here's what you need to know, here's why you need to know it, you decide? What is it? I'll use this one I used earlier. This is designed to sell you. It was Dominion, and they fought votes. The bottom part has not a fucking thing to do with it. Social media is designed to sell you. There are so few people that show you the facts. Okay, here it is. Here's what happened. Let's look at it. Here's what you measure it against. Here's why this happens. Here's pro or con. Now you decide. So few is like that. It's all a system of chaos. I'm going to play a little bit more of this. All that was designed, and all people went away. They closed the polling places. They shut the poll pads down. They frauded everybody. That's all you get from it. And that's all it's designed to do.
And yes, we already know it's a fraud from many obvious reasons. We already know it's allowed to continue as a fraud committed against the American people. And yes, we already know it's a fraud.
Now, why do you think she keeps on using that word? She tells you, she says, we already know it's a fraud. Like, you dumb motherfucker, you better think this or you're stupid. You're not one of the N ones. This is a sales piece. This is not news. Because I've showed you everything from the beginning of this is wrong. And when you slow down, you can see for yourself, fuck, there was one crime in there calling in the bomb thing. The rest is enough. And by the way, if I walked off from the polling place because it was down, I'm a dumbass fool. They got to sell you. Fraud.
From many obvious reasons. You know this because Jason Miyares had a significant polling lead just 24 hours before the election yesterday, and it disappeared in a fraud curve that we're all familiar with because we saw it before in 2020.
Anybody happen to know what the fraud curve is? Anybody? I produced thousands of hours on elections laws, election compliance. What's the fraud curve? Well, it's that F chart put out by a bunch of people that want to say fraud because it was convenient, made an F, but don't understand the logistics. They count the election day first. They have a lot left over. They get to run in the mail-in stuff later. That's how they do the wash. And that's what catches it up so quick. Is it fraud? No. But see, you think and here's what a con it is. Ready for this? We'll use Maricopa. And I'm going to show you a simple chart. Bear with me. And you tell me why this occurs. Now, you know that in Maricopa, okay, in Maricopa, they have a month that you can vote in, right? So a month out, you get mail-in ballots and you can start returning them. But what do they tell you? See, it's always right in front of your face, and people just can't put it together. They tell you, yeah, we get them in early, but we don't count them. You ever heard that? We don't count them. How many of you heard that? We don't count them. Well, if they don't count them, how the fuck do they know? Because here it is, a month out. Here's the numbers. How do they know? How do they know if they didn't open them and didn't count them? It's because their definition of count is not your definition of count. When it's opened and it's scanned in, they fucking know the count. They know everything. But see, they disconnected and said, well, it's only when it's tabulated over here that it actually counts. This is a prime example of the word con. Get it? Because if they didn't actually know the count, how can they fill in the fucking numbers? All of those are a date on the bottom. Every one of those rows is a date. That's how this works. But I'm talking more about the newscast and the word of fraud. She said it 3 times in the last 45 seconds.
allowed to continue as a fraud committed against the American people. And yes, we already know it's a fraud from many obvious reasons. You know this because Jason Miyares had a significant polling lead just 24 hours before the election yesterday, and it disappeared in a fraud curve.
Not even 1 minute has passed, and she has intentionally seeded that word fraud, which is the main of this lesson. I'm going to show you. It's going to blow you away. But let me play a little more.
That we're all familiar with because we saw it before in 2020. It was so bad even that mail-in ballot master Scott Pressler had to warn everyone that the machines went down in red districts. Of course, they were red in the state of New Jersey.
They went down in red and blue, but they're conveniently saying red. But go ahead.
You know it's bad, folks, when even Scott Pressler notices the fraud.
We got it another time. So we got 5.
Now, Milo pointed out on Twitter X that Scott Pressler does not actually deliver victories, but mostly excuses. So true. There's no evidence that Pressler or Turning Point Action really deliver GOP victories. Why? Well, because the push for early voting.
Okay. At least you maybe get my point. And this is what we're going to talk about. Because everybody's happy to point at the machines. Eric Coomer Antifa, which the system trains you like monkeys to blindly do. I'm going to show you one other clip, one other statement, and then I'm going to hit you in the face with something. First, I'm going to show you this next.
Hack or attack that we had in this election.
That's right.
Wow.
So what you're watching is...
Okay, so it's Mike Lindell. This is his absolute truth. The newscast you saw was Absolute Truth with Emerald. This is Mike Lindell. This is PCAPS. The person on the phone, Mary, is a CIA operative, but the CIA operative's telling you what happened. But just watch.
Hack or attack that we had in this election.
Yes. Were those PCAPs? Put it in chat. What were those? Were those PCAPs? Put it in chat. Packet captures, PCAPs, packet captures, PCAPs. Did you just see packet captures? No. What? Here it is. Ready? What did you see on the screen? Put it in chat now. See, you were told it was packet captures. There you go. It was just an animation. Did you pay attention when they had to admit that in the court of law? It was just an animation. Did you pay attention when 5 years ago I showed you the website that created the animation and how you put it in to make that animation? And did you know that the website that makes that animation so you can make that animation is owned by the very guy who never delivered the PCAPs, who's also a CIA guy? But see, you thought you were watching, oh, fucking A, those are PCAPs. Now watch.
Hack or attack that we had in this election.
That's right. So what you're watching is those objects moving are the actual files that are being received and sent.
These are the squares here that are being sent. So everybody out there, what you're looking
Did we get
at,
any? No.
this is the proof. So if any,
Is
like
that proof?
County, that case still open. You just go, here you go. Now you know who did it, how many votes flipped, when they did it, what time they did it, the computer it
Went
came
out of
from,
country.
the country that attacked us.
This
is what I have been excited about, and I only seen one. You know, Mary, I only seen one little line of that, which showed the IP address, that all that stuff that you're showing us.
Even that
when
document there, all fake.
We had it for that we had it. All these people had this
and
for
proven,
every
all
single vote, every single attack, and whether it was successful or not. Look at right now.
Okay, you ready? Hang on. Here's another thing. And I'm not going to play any more of it because it's neat. You were told those were the votes, although they said there was filed, And once again, Mike told you, you're going to see that was every single vote for the election. You saw it coming from her, every single vote for the election. Fraud, 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 fraud. So now Mike's ready to bring this to court because he's going to have to testify in court.
Attorneys for My Pillow guy and election denier Mike Lindell say they will not be presenting evidence that the 2020 election was rigged as they defend him at a defamation.
I thought we were all supposed, and folks, hang with me. This is about the message. A certain amount are going to get pissed off because I showed Mike and Emerald. Don't be that childish. You're about to learn the lesson. It could be anybody delivering. For God's sakes, I just played the Democrats telling you the truth. He can't wait till he gets to court. So he's in court.
Attorneys for My Pillow guy and election denier Mike Lindell say they will not be presenting evidence that the 2020 election was rigged as they defend him at a defamation trial here in federal court in Denver.
And as those trials went on, you find out he had to admit in court he never had them. But that's not my point. So now we're going to get to the hard lesson that if we do this again, our country's dead. And there is a statistical chance it's going to be done again. Because I'm telling you, this goes all the way up to the White House, people believing certain things. But I'm going to let you in on a secret. And I told you this long ago, and I want to see if you remember me telling you this, right? If you remember me telling it, just put, I remember. I told you two things. The best arrow we have in the quiver is for President Trump to embrace the fact that our elections were put under part of critical infrastructure and declare them part of critical infrastructure, and therefore we have to take steps to protect them. That was number one. Remember me telling you that? I also told you that politicians are terrified of having to deal with this. All of them know our team's right and has the hardcore proof. But there's a material difference between PCAPs and Antifa calls and all that other stuff, because most of them are hearsay and it's on a voluntary system. We're on the other side. Our evidence proves federal racketeering, state racketeering. It's the most devastating it is. Could end up with thousands of people in jail. But I want to let you know right now that is not what the government wants. Because, see, nobody knows who really benefited when. A politician doesn't know if the system let them win or he or she really won. So the sad fact of all of this is the system doesn't really want to know, but they want to try to fix it. The legit ones. They're not going to go to the extent of racketeering. And the reason they're not going to go to the extent of racketeering is because this is, in fact, the largest racketeering case or compilation of evidence ever in American history. But when you press the racketeering side of it, that means every single financial transaction they did, donations or whatever, is going to be called into scrutiny. So they basically go, holy shit, everybody's terrified. So the shortcut is, well, let's just do it under this, and let's just declare this a national emergency, and we can get this piece over here, and at least we got as much cleaned up as we can without creating a constitutional national crisis. And early on, when you heard people say Jovan created a constitutional crisis, now you understand what they're talking about, is because it is a constitutional crisis. Because foreign countries didn't do this to us, folks. Our own politicians and leaders and government did this to us. which means they don't care. They don't care about the Constitution. Now, do you get why they said Jovan and his team created a constitutional crisis? That's what it is. Now, I'm going to explain to you how we navigate this fog. Because if we stop listening to what the media tells us, and I don't consider myself media, you can if you want. I don't consider myself media. I consider myself a teacher, and you can take it or freaking leave it. You're a grown adult. But all media, right? Mando Tutuna, Jovan, did they lock you out of the White House? Did they lock you out of the White House? Which door? I've seen that being repeated, people seating that thing. You'd be amazed. Anyway, which door? Which key? The deadbolt? The bottom one? The front door? Back door? Side door? Which one? Buy into the rumor mill, because what we're doing is we're talking about how to win. All of this was not about those messengers. So it wasn't about the individual you saw on the screen. It was about, they need you to speak a very certain way, right? You will understand it's about talking a certain way, okay? Talking a certain way. They need to get you to say certain words because it's those words that let people off the hook. So as I said in the beginning, yes, there are bad judges. Yes, we should get rid of the voting systems and go very manual. It should be the most simplest, stupidest, in-person, small precincts there is. Only paper ballots, only a hand count. And we got to get rid of the voter rolls or we haven't done anything. You watch the industry adjust based upon what we've been teaching for 5 years. They adjust. They just don't give credit, but they adjust their words. In fact, I'll tell you right now, if you wanted to go on Twitter and you wanted to look up Cyber Symposium and you wanted to look up Mike Lindell and all that stuff, you know, he's running for governor of Minnesota now. Do you know all of his quotes that I pointed out to you? Do you know they're all scrubbed? Read into that what you want. I told you when it started, and now it's about finished. All of that stuff's being scrubbed. Anyway, here is what it comes down to. And I'm going to help you understand how this works with case law. I am dealing only with the word fraud. Only with the word fraud. By all of you guys that have downloaded those videos, or you go to my Telegram or what, you should be downloading those to protect those vigorously. And you should keep it. Okay. When a case, now remember I told you earlier, you can bitch about bad judges. And frankly, you think any judge that doesn't rule in favor of an election case is fraudulent. And I'm telling you that's wrong thinking. Because if we give them the excuse to not have to judge, if we give them an excuse to cop out, they're going to take it. Because no judge wants to be that one judge in history that decided it was all rigged and it was all bad, because they won't be a judge for very long. And that's just the system, folks. But just like I showed you Democrats in the beginning, it's about words. And they use the right words and they always win. We get moved like a bunch of fucking hysteric chickens. and it's shit. They do it to us. We're led around by the nose. Now, when you introduce into your filings, which every single court case did, you entered in the word fraud. Now, there's a few things you have to understand. There's a difference between criminal prosecution, and there's a difference between civil enforcement. There's a difference between contesting something. There's a difference between asking for a recount. There's a difference between, voter discrimination or whatever. I am cut out in my 35 years of critical thinking when it comes to patents, because the way the patent office, you file a patent as an inventor. You send it into the patent office. Their sole job is to not approve it. So you think the patent office is there to approve it. Mm-mm. Their sole job there is to not approve it, to say that's not allowable, you can't do that, or it's somebody else's idea. Okay? So for 35 plus years, my career outside of technology has been fighting the federal government. Now, patents are kind of like a murder case. So if they consider you the murderer, and the government says you're guilty, now prove why you're not. It's totally backwards. That you can't patent that, and you have to prove why you can. It's a murder case in reverse. My entire career in this space has been very successful at. There's 11.6 or 7 million patents out there. 1.65% of those patents actually become useful to history and get monetized. 90+% of my work is in that 1.7% sliver. The patent office has personally written laws about patents that are a direct result of my impact on the patent office. And they have to develop new laws to try to keep people from using the system the right way because they don't want to grant them. So what happens in patent laws? They tell you no. Now, most people in patents, it'll take 4, 5, 6, 7 years to get a patent done. My last one, which was probably the most complicated one I've ever done, and had to figure out, and it's in the energy sector. Energy. Meaning you bet it's cluttered, and you bet it's cluttered with multi-billion-dollar companies. I got it approved in 6 months. That's how exact I am in understanding the system. So in the patent field, you'll understand me why I present it this way. It's all about words. My Telegram is t.me/Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. That's it. No spaces, no dashes, no officials. It's easy. Somebody will post it for you in Rumble. Period. And so my job is to battle the United States government that has all the resources at its avail to tell them, no, you're wrong. Now, if you're not good at that, you don't get your patent through. Or it goes out for years and years and years and costs you millions to defend it and fight it. If you're good at it, it goes right through. But then I have to repeat that for 189 other countries if you want it to be a global patent. Of course, they're in groups, but you're doing it 189 times over. That is my expertise, okay? That is my expertise. Now, I want everybody to focus on the word fraud here. Let's stay right on topic because don't miss this. So here you go. You ready? In elections, and you can remember, the GOP and the DNC made an agreement 40 years ago that the Republicans cannot sue over election issues. And if you haven't watched me long enough, you didn't know that, but I gave you all the documents. And the GOP over 40 years forgot how to enforce the rules. And that's why everybody stayed away from anything in elections, because it was decided by law. The judge who kept on renewing that order finally died in 2020. Just before 2020, he died. And it didn't get renewed, and now we're out from under it, okay? Now, with that said, you have to understand the effect of that agreement that was done in the 80s. There have been no attorneys in the United States of America who have been trained, trialed by fire on election hardcore issues in court because nobody was fighting, because they agreed not to fight. The long in the tooth Republicans, the long in the tooth Democrats that are really old and staggering around or forget, those are the guys that did it, by the way. So I gave you all those documents. Now, what you have in that perfect storm is a system that doesn't know how to fight and a system that doesn't know how to apply the rule of law. But here's the deal. How many, and answered in chat, on a general election, okay, which means you're voting for a president. How many different elections do we have? When the United States goes in to vote for president, how many different elections do we have? Put it in chat. I'll give you a shortcut. There's over 50 when you create the, Virgin Island places or Guam or all this other stuff. But we'll just call 50. There's 50 elections. They are state elections. They are state elections that happen to have a federal component. Now, what does that mean? Each state is responsible for its own election enforcement. Each state. And they have federal components. Now, there's one word, one singular word that will take it out of the state purview, will lift it up out of the state, and automatically sends it to the federal level. What is that singular word? Put it in chat. You know we have 50 states. You know we have to fight it at state law level because it's a state election with a federal component. But there's one word that takes it from the state level and automatically throws it up, right, to the Department of Justice. What is that one word that causes that event? Fraud. Okay? I want you to bear with me here because I'm going to give you some great details. You heard this before, but I don't account for everybody hearing it before because there's new people. Now, here's what happens. You file a case, it says fraud, it throws it up to the DOJ. Now, what people didn't know, but the system intentionally did to you, is that when you use the word fraud in the lawsuit and you jump over the state and it goes right to the DOJ, which at the time was Merrick Garland. Let me ask you a question. Is Merrick Garland going to look at any election fraud cases? No. He was Biden's guy, Obama's guy, right? But it also creates another interesting thing. You jumped over the state, you went up here to the federal level. You ever heard of that no standing? You know what that means? You didn't fucking do it down here in the state. So it got all of them dismissed. Now the media runs a con on you. Say they were all dismissed, had no merit. Nope, a technicality. They didn't fight it at the state. That's how it works. That is the bottom line. Has no merit because you are trying to say it was fraud, and only the governor of the state, the secretary of the state, or the attorney general of the state can declare fraud in an election. That's it. Period. Okay. Now, the reason I played this for you is because you have been told, and you continue to be told continually, fraud, 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 fraud. Now, when you combine that with the fact we didn't have any attorneys for almost 40 freaking years that ever had to deal with any of these cases, they hear the same shit you do and they drop it into their filing. It was fraud. It was fraud. So we don't have trained attorneys that have the ability to fight it. Now, let me explain to you what that triggers. I've never gone into it to this level before, but this is why it's critically important, okay? When you state fraud in a case, and you're claiming basically it's criminal, it's fraud, the government requires you must prove intent. See, fraud, and by the way, stating it's fraud doesn't make it fraud. But that one word, which was a con, which was sold to you by all of these guys, was part of the system to make sure nothing got changed. And you keep on repeating it. People that consider themselves influencers, they will just keep on repeating it because I'm teaching you the truth. And so they have to up their repeating it because they know you're finally learning. But here's the bottom line. When you claim fraud, you have to prove intent. Now, let me explain what intent is. Remember Hillary and her emails? You know, that was a racket that could have exposed how much shit they did. How did she stay out of court? You're going to say, bad judges, badness. No, she told you, oh, I didn't know I couldn't have my own servers. It wasn't my intent to do anything wrong. Case closed. See, you point to the judge. You point to the system. They don't give a shit about that. They don't give a shit about that. But in your ignorance of the law, ignorance is not a bad term, it's a factual term. Oh, you mean I made a mistake? I didn't. Nobody ever told me that. I had no idea. I couldn't have. I thought I was doing it safe and secure having it here where I could have my people on it 24/7. I didn't intend to do anything wrong. And the moment those words are uttered, case closed. Now you understand why the Election Assistance Commission and the Help America Vote Act are all voluntary rules. Because if you point out something, oh, I didn't know we couldn't do that. And what that does is that enables the judge then, now you've enabled the judge who doesn't want to deal with this shit to go, there was no intent or whatever, bang. So what happens here? Okay, is in fact how this game is played. Because when you claim fraud, you must prove it was done knowingly and willingly. Oh, it was just a boo-boo. We didn't know we did our best. Oh my God, we had techies there to supervise everything. We didn't know there was a back door. That's not ours. You get it? The whole system is set up this way. It's a freaking con, folks, from the top to bottom. So the government has to have, when it has that type of punishment, it has to be for blameworthy conduct. What's excluded outside of blameworthy conduct? What's excluded from prosecution? Honest mistakes. That's the ruling on the law. Willfully, which, as I told you have to be able to show knowingly and willfully. What's willfully? A deliberate act. I didn't know. I didn't do it on purpose. That one word, fraud, which ironically, I find it really weird that every one of Lindell's team keeps on putting that shit out. Every one of the influencers that sold you infiltrated an Antifa call. Keep on putting that word out. Now, what you have to do in this, the practical effect, you've heard it before, it has to be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. But those are the catchwords. Now, here's how it comes to enforcement. You're only going to have enforcement, period. The only enforcement you're going to have is when you can prove it was knowingly and willingly done. Okay? Knowingly and willingly. And so what has to happen is you have to prove, here it comes down, here's the word, you have to prove they intended to cheat. Now, here's what's really interesting. When you claim fraud, they're not going to open any books, any databases, any ballots to you or whatever. You're on your own. You got to prove it on your own. I'm going to go back and do one short lesson. This is why William Barr said, we looked at it, we didn't believe there was enough to make a material difference in the outcome of the election. That's the escape clause. Here's what it means. If you and I are in a state and our candidate lost by 100,000 votes, and we knew they were all dead people and illegals who shouldn't be voting, and you and I found 90,000 on our own, right off the bat, nailed them. Here are our name, address, phone numbers, and everything else. And we go to the attorney generals and say, here it is. See, in your rule book and in your ethic, you're going, oh my fucking God, look at all this shit. This is horrible. We got to fix this. And the prosecution or attorney's ears, they hear, what? You only found 90,000? Well, the candidate won by 100,000. You did not prove enough to make a material outcome in the election. That's the escape clause. Now, anytime you claim fraud, you must prove intent, which is basically bad motive. You have to prove it. It can't be done on hearsay. It has to be absolute fact. The laws are written to protect them from doing anything, not to protect our elections. Okay? So it is impossible. Now, let me give you the next little catch in the law. Lindell team won't tell you this. All these supposed fucking election integrity experts won't tell you this either. When the court is looking and it's you and you have found bad shit and it's an election official and the judge asks, yes, I see this evidence and this is the election official, who does the judge by default on claims have to defer to by law? The election official. It is required by law for that judge to consider the fault the election official, the expert. Therefore, he must err on the side of the official. That is the law. I know you've been relying on monkeys and pillows and raccoons and all kinds of shit to tell you this shit. They don't know this shit. And the ones that do know it don't tell you because that's not the game they're playing. Here's how it rolls out, okay? You have to fight all of this differently. You have to fight it differently. Now, there are certain claims that you can fight on constitutional rights, right? And that is based on discrimination. However, you're claiming discrimination, but you do know you have to show it was knowingly and willfully done, or even the discrimination doesn't count. So here's the deal. If you're going to claim fraud, you are saying they knew it and they did it on purpose. And no matter what you present, it doesn't fucking matter what you present. I got video evidence of vans fucking pulling up, offloading ballots at 3 fucking o'clock in the morning. Right? They just need one person in that group says, I I didn't know those weren't official. I thought they were. They drove up in the van. We've been taking deliveries like this for fucking weeks. Now they've pierced the knowingly and willingly, and it's out. So if you want to win this, I want to tell you exactly how this works. It's called the but for. B-U-T, not B-U-T-T, B-U-T, second word, F-O-R. It's called the but for, right? Stay on topic, folks. The but for. Now, the but for has a procedure. The procedure is you're basically trying to say, see all this happened? You can see you can see where the election happened, but for these items that occurred, you can see how you can't certify. It's called the but for. All you have to prove, which you can't do if you say fraud. See, if it's fraud, you have to prove it was a criminal, organized, widespread thing. That's what you have to prove the moment you claim fraud. The very moment you put fraud in your filings, the moment you put fraud in your affidavit, it's over. They trained everybody to say fraud, 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 fraud. But when you understand the but-for consideration, meaning outcome change consideration, that's how it's read into the rule of law. What you have to do is you have to basically say, we don't know the outcome. We don't know the outcome. You've heard from me the very beginning. If you saw me testifying in front of the Senate, and I said, I don't care if it's Biden or Trump. That's not the point. If the rules won't follow and this was done right, you don't know how the election ended. So here's how this works. You basically have to show that, okay, here's the outcome of the election. But all you have to prove is the but for. I told you I was an ass man. The but for. You have to say the outcome is non-certifiable because of these but fors. Now, you never talk about the candidate. You never talk about the actual candidate. All of this comes under, right, maladministration, which is only saying one thing. It was an uncertain outcome. And it was reasonably uncertain. And when you look at this stuff, all it points to is there were errors, there were maladministration, and this election wasn't run right. It comes down to the word of maladministration. Now, here's what it is. Maladministration falls under what's called remedial, not punitive. Fraud, see if we can agree on this. You want somebody put in fucking jail, right? That's called punitive. Remedial, so it's remedial, not punitive. Remedial means you want this remedied. You want this remedied. Now, all courts are dubious of overturning elections because the bar is too high because everybody files it wrong. But what you can prove, right? What you can prove is the election was run wrong. So factually, we don't really know. We've got to look at it further. Now, that's a maladministration case. Now, the only time intent doesn't matter, get ready, write this down. The only time when intent doesn't matter, when it comes specifically to an election, is if you can show that official in control of that machine took a bribe, you found the bribe, You found the agreement that they've got to do this to the machine, and you've proved it beyond a shadow of a doubt. If you can attach money to it, that doesn't mean a lot of money was spent on it. I gave you something very specific. It was Don Juan. It was tally machine number 10. On this date, he took $100,000. Here's the email where San Juan in Puerto Rico told Don Juan, his cousin in Arizona, to do it. Here's how they plan to do it. You can look at the machine and this happened. Nobody has that. Nobody has that, okay? But everything, it doesn't matter what the case is, whether it's fraud or it's maladministration, you only have to prove, does it connect to the outcome? That's it. That's all you have to prove. Does it connect to the outcome? See, the excuse they use is it's not enough to materially change the difference in the outcome. All you have to do is create that reasonable doubt. See, there's two sides. There's absolute proof and there's reasonable doubt. The reasonable doubt is what opens it. See, fraud, the word fraud, triggers a higher pleading burden. Period. It is the highest of all thresholds, the highest pleading burden. And it absolutely requires specificity. The who, the what, the when, the where, and how, not just broad claims. Well, they printed an extra million ballots. That's a what? Who printed an extra million ballots? Well, in this case, we'll say Runback. Well, I'm just using an example. We got Runback. How do you know how'd they do it? Here's the invoices, right? Did those ballots make their way into the system? You have to prove that. Did those ballots not only make their way in the system, were they scanned? Were they tallied? Were they counted? Were they canvassed? Were they certified? So you have to have every bit of those fucking lined up in a fraud case, period. And it has to be with particularity is what it's called. It's a hard word to get out. You have to be able to prove it up front. All of those require the upfront elements. That's why it's a higher proof of burden. You have to prove all of the mechanisms up front that got to this little bitty place back here, which is the after fact. That's after the fact it was run. And so fraud, right? In any case of any way, government level or otherwise, and we use that word willy-nilly, is the single hardest claim to prove because it demands intentional deception. And you got to connect it all to every rule, every step, everything. Now, if you claim fraud, and you don't actually have fraud, meaning you go ahead and file the court case and you claim fraud, but you actually have no evidence that proves it, do you know what happens? It happened in all of the cases that were filed for 2020. The attorneys were sanctioned. Did you notice that trend among all the attorneys, Rudy, Sidney, everybody else? They were sanctioned. Why were they sanctioned? They were sanctioned for only one reason. You used the word fraud and you didn't show it. Therefore, you actually made a false claim because it doesn't pass the fraud standard. So who's on the fucking hook? The attorneys. And that's why they get sanctioned and disbarred, because it all comes down to the fucking words. That was the cause and effect. Now, because it all has to be supported. If you claim it, if you claim that fucking Antifa call, which a lot of them did, right? and you say it's fraud, you actually have an unsupported claim of fraud. The person who said they did the intifal doesn't get hurt. The attorney does. All those attorneys got sanctioned, right? Now, a court is far more receptive to fixing a process problem. I gave you all the high bars it comes with the word fraud, because you have to prove the criminality of it, the conspiracy of it, the willingly, the knowingly, the intent. Now let's remove that. Courts are not receptive to that. Courts are not receptive to that. They don't want to be in that seat. It reflects on them too as a judge. So what courts are receptive to is fixing a process problem. They don't want to adjudicate a conspiracy. They just want to fix a process problem. Now, what is a process problem? A process problem is maladministration. Something happened where the election wasn't run right. There's all of these irregularities, and every one of the courts in the United States, every single one of them are exactly the same. Every single one of them is exactly the same. I'm not talking about who owns the courts. That's not my topic. My topic is words. I'm not changing the topic. Bottom line. So what you have to do is you must keep your remedies very clean and be more proportional to what you're calling. That basically means we think something was wrong with the ballots that we can't get an accurate count. So that's a very clean claim, right? And then you go over here in what we call proportional. You say, well, they only had 2,500,000 voters, but they printed 4,089,000 ballots for the county, and they can't account for them. Clean, proportional. Clean, proportional. You get it? So even a judge is, because all you're saying to the judge is, man, we don't even know how to figure this out, because there's actually no logical way to figure it out. And so we don't even know how they even came up with a number. That's clean. That's just a clean statement. You notice I didn't say Trump. I didn't say Biden. I didn't say fraud. I didn't say Dominion. But you have to answer the side of it and go, we're just making that decision on. They got 2,500,000 voters and change. They said they sent everybody a ballot, but Your Honor, they printed 4,089,000 ballots. Why'd you print so many? Where'd they go? Now, see, that's easy for a judge to rule on. See, what you've done now is you've put the judge in a very tight box. Because, see, to skip over it, the judge would have to say, 2,500,000 voters printed 489,000 or 4,089,000. I don't see a problem. See, you put the judge on the spot. You need the judge to out themselves if they're bad. In that box, you're forcing the judge to go, is this true? Maricopa, you have 2,575,621 voters? Yes, sir. You said you mailed them all a ballot? Yes, sir. And the balloteer printed 4,089,000 specifically for Maricopa. Can you explain that? This is how it works. Now, what happens is all of this needs to be specific and admissible evidence. Now, to say a truck looks suspicious, that's not admissible. To say a van pulled up at night and we saw them taking boxes out, remember I told you they have to defer to the election official when you claim fraud? So you go, fraud, and the judge goes, Mr. Election Official, what was that? That was our pizza delivery because everybody was working late at night. Which is the excuse they used, which the judge is required by law to defer to. Yes, your affidavits matter, but when you said fraud in your affidavit, you just threw it out of court, okay? So you have to understand this is what's called maladministration. Now, when you start showing all these maladministrations issue, Your Honor, we can't account for all the ballots. According to Arizona state law, when a ballot comes back returned, undeliverable, no such name or no such person, no such address, moved, unknown, deceased, those come back to the county. The county is then required, according to county procedure, that they have to look on that ballot, get the person's name, and they have to send them a postcard, which is dumb as shit, back to the same address and say, hey, your ballot got returned, we need to fix it. But yet they're going to send it to the same fucking address and it's going to come back undeliverable. But they have to send it. Now you got 110,000 kept ballots that are actually ballot packets. It means it's the envelope, it is the ballot, it's the return security envelope. Okay? That's a perfected instrument of anyone can vote, especially if you don't do signature checking. It's a perfected instrument that if somebody got a hold of it, opened it, and voted and scribbled on the envelope, put it in a drop box, it would get counted. Now, the state has to account for these. Now, in the instance of Maricopa, the county said, we don't have them. And then when getting reminded, you're supposed to keep them. Here's the rule. Here's the book. They said, oh, we gave them to Runback. They were sent back to Runback, which was a double back and forth process. And Runback said, well, we thought we could destroy them, so we destroyed them. Well, show us. Well, they can't prove it. So what you have here, ready? You have 110,000 ballots missing. Blank, ready to vote with the security envelope. And you already knew you had issues with the signatures. Nobody can account for 110,000 ballots. So that's why we say, supposedly it's a 40,000 delta. You could have done that two times over if you'd have just used those ballots that could have been used. You see how it opens the window? We don't think anybody did it on purpose. We just think they didn't do their job. Now, what you do is you line these up. Boom, 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 boom. You never say, they stole it from Trump and swapped the votes. I saw it on TV. I can't tell you how many fucking times I've seen that in pleadings, that bullshit. But see, you got trained to say that like Pavlov's dogs. So you list all these out. Now, when you get them all laid out in a line and you look at it, this is maladministration, this is maladministration, this is maladministration, this is maladministration. You got a lot of maladministration going on. Boy, this election was fucked up. We kind of have no idea how you could even get a number. And then you got an interesting catch. The interesting catch is based on, again, proportionality. Now, in Maricopa, there were 10,435 individual batches of ballots. 10,435. Let's say we point out a potential maladministration issue with a batch. See this batch? See how they came in? See this and this and this and this and this? And let's say you present that one batch. They're always going to say, well, that was an accident. We didn't mean for it to happen. This is how you fight this war. Okay, but it happened 9,937 times in a row. That's when maladministration jumps to malfeasance, which malfeasance means it was intentionally done. Somebody fucked this up on purpose, which by default, the court looks at and goes, holy shit. When you look at all this stuff together and it's all the same, they fucking rigged this thing. Who makes that determinant? Either the jury or the judge. You just have to lay it out. But if you start with fraud, you're fucked. And I'm telling you, part of the con that happened, because there were so many things going on, part of the con that happened was they taught every one of you to scream fraud. And everybody did it. They taught every attorney who ever took on a case, because nobody had been taking on election cases, to put fraud in there. You got convinced by media that somebody was on an Antifa call and I infiltrated it, but I didn't take any notes and I didn't record it, but I heard it. I swear. You think that's evidence. So they drop it into the filing. The court goes, that's not evidence. That's here. It's like, bing. Every bit of that was the second half of the orchestrated con. The first half of the orchestrated con was doing it, which they did. The second half of the orchestrated con was to make sure you didn't know shit and you used the wrong words. And in doing that, what did they do? They perfected it. You donated millions and fucking millions. You donated millions of dollars to somebody who told you, went to China, this is it, have the PCAPs, everyone, ever going to prove it, here it is. They sit down and take it back to their experts, prove it, till it gets to court and say, well, we never had it. Well, we can't get it. He's a protected witness by the CIA. Well, why won't they let you have it? Well, because in 2007, they told them not to share anything, and so we have to honor what they said in 2007. Well, let me ask you a question. Who is fucking stupid enough to bring in an expert under a gag order and expecting them to testify? No, they can't. Oh, by the way, that happened in every case. That happened in Tina's case, too. You think that's a coinkydink? This is how the game's played. This is why they call me crazy. This is why they work so hard to tell you full of shit. The same con's going on right now. It's a half-measured con. They're going for quick solutions that don't end it, but at least make major changes to get to one-day voting in paper and ID. That's the longest process. It's not going to fix it. We're still in fucking trouble when we get to 2026. And I'm telling you, I don't think President Trump will prevail, because in the House and the Senate, he's going to be undermined. He's going to be lamed up. But I have a very specific job. My specific job is forensics. I don't give a shit about what anybody says. What does the paper and transactional information of the physical election, which is the paper ballots only, say? Because here's the difference. The machine swapped the votes. What piece of software did they use? When did they do it? How did they do it? Do you have a piece of the software? Oh, the rules are voluntary? Oh, you can't see the election company software? Or you can do this. Here's 10,435 batches of ballots. Let me show you the cadence of the ballots. We've mapped that to every single drop box, every single polling station. They only go to one destination, and they're not pre-sorted by the post office or anything. But let me show you, boom, boom, boom. And you can clearly see it. And a judge goes, well, how could that happen? And the answer is, well, it can only happen if you know exactly where every vote is at a time, and you distributed them in a manner that you could spread them across 10,435 batches so they wouldn't stick out. Now, I effectively said the same fucking thing, didn't I? Now, the difference is, if you say the machines and this, it's all voluntary on this side. Every ballot that was subjected to that is a federal and a state offense, felony. Don't have to prove shit. There it is. I don't have to prove shit. Fucking there's the ballot. There it is. I don't have to prove it's a ballot. You know it's the fucking ballot. There it is. And then everybody else has to try to explain their way out of it. This is what happened to us, folks. And we still haven't learned this lesson. And that's why, even to this day, I just pulled this morning. These headlines, Dominion flipped and switched. Here it is, middle of the night, flipped and switched. I have come to believe that people that keep on repeating that message, which is not provable in court and is in fact total bullshit, are in on it. Or they get paid to say it, or they're just dumb fucks. You have to decide if you're in on it. You have to decide if you have a standard to win. You have to decide, do you have the intellectual honesty to be able to call it exactly like it is for exactly what a court of law needs? Do you have the ability to call out people and say the fucking PCAPs was a con? And by the way, they'd never be admissible. Can I ask you the simplest question of all that people miss? In order to have PCAPs, like the Cyber Symposium did, of every single election in 174,000 and change precincts, 3,381 counties for every state in the United States, how'd you get that? Because it's actually not available or doable. How'd you get it? But see, people don't think that way. Oh, by the way, if you got it by a crime, it's what? Inadmissible. If you got it from a CIA operative using a special winky-dinky program, it's inadmissible. Just like they planned every bit of this 2020 shit out, because this is an ongoing coup. They planned every excuse, every operation. They work on the bad side, they work on the good side, they work on the naive side, the whole bit. The one thing they didn't count on is the American people, meaning you, saying we want to see the fucking ballots. And we want to look at every one of them, and we want to understand everything on it. See, the ballot to us is not a ballot. The ballot is code. The code just tells us what's there. It's just like the way a Tesla driving vehicle goes down the highway is it's reading the white and yellow lines on the dots and the hashes and the signs. That's all code. To them, it's not a road. To them, it's code. To us, it's not a ballot. It's code, because there are hard rules. And here's how the code flowed, and here's what happened. And it all becomes part of a greater code to know where it came from and what was done to it. That's why even down to the very unique coding we created for everything in it, I can look at the single string of the name and tell you everything that happened to it and who touched it and where it was from. That's the power of technology when used right. That's what they've pushed back against. My prayer for our nation is you stop thinking single-sidedly and you take the time to try to understand the laws. But why would you want to fight on all the stuff about machine software when it's all voluntary? It doesn't matter what happened. They deleted 1 million pieces, 1 million votes. It's a misdemeanor, $1,000. They physically change 1 million ballots, and you show how that 1 million ballots was distributed. That's 1 million federal felonies, 1 million state felonies, each of them carrying a minimum of 5 to 20 years for each one. What side do you want to play on? And that's what this comes down to. You're not recognizing the power you have. You're not recognizing you got the full forensic audit done, and you've been sucked into an alternative media world that's just as fucking bad as CNN. And you actually think there's sides. There's only two sides in this. We the people against the system. That's it. And the we people doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, Christian, Jew, whatever. Handicap doesn't matter. If you want this great republic to continue, you got to get real with yourself. I don't know how you forgive somebody telling you they had everything, and then when you get to court under oath said, well, we never really had it. How do you forgive that? I take that as serious. Well, I know it was your son. He was 3 and I ass fucked him, but I really didn't mean it. I'm sorry. It's just a boo-boo. I'm really a good guy, because we all got ass fucked over this, and not in a good way. I can't forgive that shit. So maybe I'm too hard for this. But I can tell you what I am. I'm direct. I'm transparent, and I'm going to tell you the truth, and you can go verify everything I said, and you can look it up for yourself, and you can understand the difference of the words matter. The only reason I give you these things, and I give you both sides, is so you can make your own decision. Because if we're going to survive this and get through it, unfortunately, you're going to have to make a decision where you stand and what you stand for. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter how nice somebody is, how beautiful somebody is, how fit somebody is, how tough somebody is, how well somebody talks, whether they're a Christian or Jew, that's not what matters. It just matters if we can win this and make sure we keep our country. And that is all that matters. I love you all. I hope you understand why I presented this to you, and I hope people take the time to watch it. But I can't do this shit in 15 minutes and teach. You got to decide that too. Do you have enough time? Will you put in enough time to learn? Or do you need it in 120 fucking characters? And if you need it in 120 fucking characters, then just get your news from social media posts while this country dies. I love you all. Take care.
Our courts are based on clear and convincing evidence. Want convictions? Want justice? For what happened in the 2020 election? Then we need your help. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The decision you make in the next few moments could decide whether we ever get our elections fixed or not. Here's why. Trump campaign and allies filed 64 different lawsuits. They all went down in flames. 100% of these cases were presented on "It's the machines," or "The machines changed the votes," or "The voting company executive said he would make sure Donald J. Trump would not win." They all went down in flames. Why? You can't bring theories to court as evidence. No supposed Zoom call or 6-degree polynomial math theory or census data is or ever will be proof of fraud. You can't bring theories to court as evidence. Here's why. In both civil and criminal law, the side making a claim carries the burden of proof, and prosecutors must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Without physical or otherwise verifiable evidence, a case cannot meet this high threshold. Physical evidence is the key. The question is, did anyone get relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election? And the answer is yes, absolutely. The full forensic audit of Maricopa County, Arizona is the only evidence-gathering work which gathered relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election. Evidence so damning that the system, the deep state, and those who pulled the strings of this country have fought to keep it hidden and have hoped to have it be forgotten to time. Almost $3 million invested in time, funds, and efforts to unlock that which the system wanted hidden. But now, that evidence is in danger of being lost forever. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. With the 2026 midterms coming up, the system is going to try to lame duck President Trump and then most likely introduce new impeachment proceedings. This is the evidence which will help win the war which is surely to come. We need to keep Maricopa County full forensic investigation and archives secure and ongoing. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We need your help securing the full forensic audit archives. Don't allow the only testable, objective, and reliable 2020 election evidence fall into obscurity. Millions were spent on getting it documented and tested. This is historic evidence. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County Full Forensic Audit Archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. Please donate now.